Sears.
Here.
All right, stand for the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Approval of agenda.
I make a motion we approve the agenda as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sir, for personal appearances.
All right, we have Miss Morgan Mitchell. Would you come up here to the podium, please?
Let's go first. Alright, so I am Morgan. I am here on behalf of the Girl Scouts. As you are aware, Adrian has a no soliciting ordinance that does not allow for door-to-door cookie sales. So we would like to ask that you consider changing the ordinance to allow for Girl Scouts to sell cookies door-to-door. We ask that you do this so that our girls can participate in the largest girl-led entrepreneurial program in the world that helps them to learn how to make financial decisions, manage money, and develop customer service skills, which will help them to grow in courage, confidence, and character. The current ordinance, 509, does allow door-to-door sales of milk, dairy products, vegetable, poultry, eggs, farm and garden produce. So we ask that you please consider adding the Girl Scouts cookies to the list of approved products. And that is it.
Thank you, Morgan. You guys have any questions for her?
I think they have milk and eggs in them, don't they?
Good point.
Let's hope.
Thank you, Morgan. Thank you very
We'll
much.
consider it. Thank you.
And just as an informational item, the no soliciting ordinance has been in effect since 1974.
That's what I wanted.
And it could use a revisitation.
Okay.
How soon are you selling these, Morgan? How soon are you starting?
Now, actually.
In the parking lot.
It's got a case out there for you.
Right.
Can,
That was my next question.
Yeah, what's the change
So my neighbor kids, you're under arrest.
I
Come
don't
on my
want
door.
to get out of order, but.
All right.
Yeah. Can we make a motion to allow them to work around the ordinance and then revisit the ordinance in the upcoming months, or is that?
So you could make a motion right now to rescind the current ordinance as it's written, and then it would no longer be valid. It would be pulled out in its entirety. What that would do until you put another something in there to replace it, you would allow all
Right.
soliciting at door-to-door sales. So, I mean, conceivably it would only be for a month, but you could remove that one right now.
I don't see that we have an abundance of door-to-door salesmen here.
Because we
Not
have the
this week.
ordinance.
Not this week. Not this week.
Next week.
Can we add, like,
There's a camera
just
in
civic,
the room now. I don't know.
like say, just amend civic organizations, school organizations, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. Just add those to the list rather than having to, and then we can always go back to it again and adjust it if we need, but.
We would have to pull the amendment, or pull the ordinance and
Go
look
through
at
the
it
whole
and amend it,
process.
right?
Yes.
So I'll
Which
go ahead
I'm good with.
make a motion that we rescind the current ordinance number 509 that governs door-to-door sales here in Adrian.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Our girls appreciate it.
Simple.
We definitely need to get that on the agenda next week.
We will add it and make it a priority, sir. And we can also have discussions on,
Detail information.
Then-
absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, Morgan. Appreciate it. Keep up the good work. All right. I guess we'll move on to department reports. Ken?
Couple things to report. I was unable to do the siren test this last beginning of the month at ice on the tower. We didn't want to create a problem with having an issue of them not working or going off when they shouldn't go off. So we'll continue with that this next month. Second thing is, went to a storm spotting school last week, And I asked a question about, we've had several cases where we've had tornado warnings just pop up, and that's concerning to the public and also to us. And I asked him, I said, what's the deal on here? Why don't they want to issue more tornado watches? And he said, well, that's done in Norman, Oklahoma, or Oklahoma 400 miles away. Certain criteria to meet to do those watches. So I said, okay, well, we're still having the issue with getting these tornado warnings. He explained that by the time the radar gets through its cycles from top to bottom, let's say it takes 4 minutes, I don't know the exact time, it's a very short time, you can have a tornado pop up, a small one on a squall line, shows up on their radar. They're able to create warnings out of Pleasant Hill, but they can't do watches. That has to come out of Oklahoma. So there's really nothing that can be done when they have a small tornado pop up. There's no warning, it just happens. So that applies to Kansas City, everywhere. So I know it's frustrating, but there's really nothing that we can do for that. I know that really doesn't anything you want to hear, but
At least you found out.
yeah, it's disappointing, but
So to clarify, what you're saying is, so when I went to storm spotting school back in the day, they could not call a warning unless it was confirmed by an on-the-ground storm spotter. Somewhere
Correct.
that's changed, right?
yes, now
And so-
evidently they can do a radar, if they
They're-
see a radar indicated tornado, they can call a
So,
warning.
so they've changed their protocol and they're now calling tornado warnings by radar, which, like you're saying, it can be a blip on the radar.
Correct.
And then 4 minutes later it can be gone, or it cannot be there, and then 4 minutes later it can be there.
Correct, and he explained that, but if they were to issue a warning, or by the time they did, it's over with.
Yeah, and I think the frustration, personally, I'm just as frustrated that we have 4 times more warnings now,
Correct,
because they're seeing something that they think might be a tornado
Yeah.
on a radar, and we've got people on the ground. I mean, I know last tornado season, you guys were, a couple of storms, you guys were out spotting, I was listening to the radio traffic, and then all of a sudden, they pop up a tornado warning, and they're telling everybody to go hide in their basement, and then everybody's like, well, how come the storm spotters didn't? So that's a good clarification. I think everybody needs to hear that and understand that.
Yeah,
That,
and
that
part
kind
of
of
it-
supersedes the storm spotter's abilities. There's nothing you can do about that.
yeah, and I was upset without the watches. They used to, years ago, have quite a few tornado watches, I mean, when the conditions were right. And at least with that, somebody could be up at night watching the radar. But now you don't have a watch, and it just pops up like that. And again, their explanation is by the time the radar makes its loop, it has to go different elevations to make a complete cycle. And one can pop up and they would never know until it shows up on the blip. So
Yeah.
that's the best I can,
Makes your job more difficult.
it very much does. And the
Thank
public
you.
gets very upset whenever a warning goes off. It's like, well, why didn't you sound the sirens? Well, you knew as much as I knew, so
Yeah.
that's,
Thank you, Ken.
yeah.
And if I may, so I'm sure you all saw the ice buildup on the water tower. When it initially started leaking, we had conversation on whether or not to shut the water tower off and drain it. The company couldn't get out till this week to repair it. Staff talked about it, and the concern was that if we shut it off and drained it, it wouldn't have decreased pressure to the city, but if there would have been a major fire, it would have decreased capacity. And with all the fires that we've been having in the rural areas, and even the tower, the pole, the electric pole that caught on fire, we decided against shutting it down, even though it did create a little bit of a hazard that we tried to tape off as best as possible. That was the process of why we didn't shut it down initially.
Yeah. Not a good time of year to be out of water supply.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ryan. All right, moving on. Dylan's report is here. Anybody got any questions?
What's Brian's status?
So he is still on limited duty, but he's back. He just can't lift anything over 15 pounds. So he's in good spirits. He feels better every day. Fortunately, the car also wasn't totaled. It's actually being repaired. And so it should be in service, hopefully about the same time Brian is.
There you go.
So,
Okay, thank you.
All right. Ready for your report now?
okay. So I've submitted the budget to actuals, and you'll see that some of our line items are over the initial budgeted amount. We are going to make some transfers to correct that. The overall budget, though, we're still within the budget, the initial amounts that had been proposed. And so probably next month, going into the fourth quarter, I might make some recommendations for some transfers if we're getting close to some. I know with some salaries, maybe some of the benefit lines might be a little close. I'll make those recommendations to you. You also see before you the updated banking comparison. I've added the interest that was earned in January. Right now, our current 7-day yield rate is 4.52%, so it's gone up from when we initially did it. A 6-month rate, once it crosses the 5% mark, I'll probably lock it in, some of the money in for that 6 month, which should could increase our earnings by about $2,000 a month. So just kind of keeping an eye on that. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, when the stock market's down, the bond market is up. And so right now with the stock market in flux, the bond and the municipals, it's a good bargain for us. Some of the other things going on, we've recently completed our utility billing software install. We're currently working with First Tech to do our online bill pay. We're just working to make sure that the software and the data is in sync, and then we'll be able to announce online bill pay. So that'll be exciting. We still have public works software, capital asset software, and a business licensing software to add to the platform, which then will automate a lot of our other processes. The public works software will be exciting because we can actually start tracking anytime we do road repairs. We can actually determine what the actual cost is to each section of road. So it'll help us in our budgeting process. We had our kickoff meeting with IBTS today, which is our codes enforcement group. Pretty exciting, excited to get that rolling. Kind of talked about the first level, some of those more dangerous, more of a concern properties. We're going to start that way and then just kind of assess it and work the way down. The codes enforcement gentleman, his name is Mark. He will be on site in the next couple of weeks for us to kind of tour the town with him, identify those areas that we want to work on. We also have a reason to go into closed session to talk about some legal things today, kind of dealing with codes. Met with the Deer Creek Township Board yesterday to talk about the outer road. That meeting went really well. They are committed to contributing to the cost to repair that road. We're going to work out something to where it fits in their budget along with ours, and I think it'll be a win-win for everybody. And we'll be able to improve that outer road, hopefully for up to another 10 years. Good. See, next week I will be at the Missouri Municipal League Legislative Update. We're going to meet with our legislators, be able to talk with what's going on, their priorities, share some of our concerns, what we want to see happen in our area. I always feel that it's important to have a seat at the table. It's easy to overlook you if you're not present, and so that'll be a good event. Next month, Yvonne will be attending a new clerk training put on by the MML, and so that'll be exciting for her. I've been in conversation with Congressman Alford's office to see about securing federal funding for the storm shelter. There's an appropriations process to see if that's something that he is interested in pursuing on our behalf. If that's the case, it'll move that whole project forward very quickly, and which is very exciting.
Right.
And then lastly, I've submitted an application / agreement with West Central Community Action Agency. There's ARPA money available from the state, that if people are having problems or challenges paying their water bills, they can apply to this program, and they'll cover up to a one-time $700 payment to help people pay that bill. And so we're just waiting now for approval. And that's all I have.
How much total is available on that, do you know?
Well, there was millions of dollars allocated. They said that they still had enough money to carry the program through until September.
Okay.
So, not sure exactly how much is left.
Sure.
I could find that out and get that to you.
Nah, it's
Are we seeing that to be an issue? I mean, is there water, people having really tough problems paying the water bill?
There is always people that have challenges, especially when you have the severe weather and people's line broke. Even though we offer them a high water rate, so it's at a discount, sometimes they don't discover it in time to where, we have one water bill that's a couple $1,000s. And so, any avenue that we're able to provide people to get relief from those high bills, it's always a
Sure. My question was, I just didn't know if there was a limited amount of opportunity there with the money cap or anything like that. That's why.
No, and the way the process works is that they will actually have to call West Central, which will put them on a list with the state. Basically, they're eligible for that reimbursement.
Sure.
And then we'll accept the money from the state on their behalf.
They'll do all the approving and all that.
Yes, yeah. We just had to basically apply to say, yes, we would be a part of the program and abide by the requirement.
Sure.
Are you working with Kelly Ast down there?
No, the person who sent me this, I can't remember what her name is.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
She's just a real sharp gal.
Yeah, they've got a lot of different programs down there that I don't believe are fully utilized by our community, and that's something that I wanna change.
Yeah, they're a great resource.
Yep.
On the outer road thing, we were gonna revisit with Schooler and possibly John Deere. Any follow-up on that?
Well, I wanted to have a conversation with the township first to see exactly what they could do and where we were at. But I would like to follow up with Schooler to say, is there any way that we can adjust, your initial contribution, adjust it for inflation? $7,500 isn't what it was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And so you just have some conversation and then kind of go from there.
So the grants and / ARPA conversation, and we don't, I'm not putting you on the spot at all, but maybe next month, if we can get an update on what grants you applied for,
Sure.
did we get denied, did we get accepted, and I know that we had earmarked certain ARPA funds, and so it'd be nice to just kind of know where we are with ARPA to see what our next steps are with some of those resources.
Well, and that's a very, it's a good timing to that question. Because we actually, we have the initial distribution of that 356,000. So we need to talk about what we'd like to do with that going forward. A lot of the grants that I have applied for, they are still in the review stage, believe it or not. It was one of those that they gave the money, they started to develop it, and then they're like, oh, wait a minute. And so the timelines have been totally blown just because they didn't expect the response. And like the ones for the firefighters and the police, they're still under review. And that one had been pushed back 4 or 5 different times. And, there's one for nonprofits to apply to get funding for that it's not even slated to open up, I think, until March or April. And originally, it was supposed to open up back in September. And so I've been watching those timeframes to make sure that all the local agencies are aware of it. Because there's a lot of organizations that could use the funding.
Good enough? Yeah, thank you.
What's our policy on turning off water for non-payment?
Yvonne, would you like to?
The water bills are sent out the last day of each month. They're usually due around the middle of the month, hopefully on the 15th. Unless that falls on a Sunday or something, they'll make a different day. After that, they become delinquent. They'll have a penalty. They have till the end of that month to pay it. It's after that end of that month, the next week, we try to shut them off.
Okay, so
And they have a $25 reconnect fee.
a couple of weeks late, we'll get them shut off. Okay.
And if they come in and they talk with us and they explain what their situations are, you know, we do make exceptions, make agreements. And so, you know, if they come in, most of the time, they're not shut off.
Anything else for Ryan? All right, moving on. Mark's report is in the package here. Anybody have any questions about his?
No, my only concern is this, last year I met with the paving contractor for the bids for the park. Is that something you're kind of involved in also?
Yeah, so what I had asked, I was curious as to what it would cost to pave
The horseshoe just from in and down?
basically both parking lots, the one right
Oh,
there by the,
parking lots, okay.
by the ball field and then over by the lake.
Sure.
Just to get an idea, and it's very expensive.
Okay.
So, again, it was more just to have kind of a ballpark idea, it wasn't to commit or,
Okay, I just wanna make sure that, you know, he's getting with Mike and all that, cause
yeah.
that would really come as a shock.
Well, it was more out of my curiosity.
Sure.
Is things to bring to the park, you know, just kind of some ideas and.
Sure.
So he was following up on a request that I had made.
I mean, it would be nice to have the roads done. I don't know about the parking lot part, just for the fact that the water runoff would be so extreme, rather than not soaking in right now, and the way that park is shaped, it'd have to have some major drainage issues settled first. So, other than that, good.
All right, Tom?
Don't have a whole lot. First and foremost, they finished up welding the holes in the tower today.
They didn't use cork?
No.
Chewing gum?
It's still not complete. We still need to come back in and put a sealant on the inside of it and everything like that.
How big a deal was that? I mean, size-wise? What-
They were as big as your pinky.
Oh,
There were
wow.
6 of them.
Oh my.
Yeah, it was bad.
Okay.
Brings me, like I say, they need to come back. We do not know when they're gonna be able to come back and totally sandblast and seal the inside of the tower and everything like that.
Was that rust or was that somebody?
You're looking at a almost 80-year-old tower. It's declining. Myself and Ryan and Mark have had some initial conversations on, we probably need to look into replacing it.
Okay.
So that'll be a process to go through with engineers and everything else, but
Sure.
we're kinda start on the project.
Maybe they'll give us a discount on painting it.
Yeah, yeah.
You're already up there.
It was bad house. I come in
Get that
there,
guy brush.
they were supposed to come Thursday,
Sure.
and then I guess they called the water plant on Friday and said, well, we're gonna be there on Tuesday, need to drain it on Monday. And I come in, didn't know anything about it till Monday morning, and it's like, okay. So we went ahead and processed Monday night, drained it down, had it drained for them on Tuesday morning. Well, you know, Tuesday, it was raining like sun gun. And he pulls in there and says, I can't do anything today. I don't know why they told you to drain this, but I said, well, we can't fill it back up and drain it again, whatever, you know, he said. So they were able to work half a day on Tuesday and all day today, and they finished it up. It is full now and back in service. So,
Okay.
but just kinda, you know, in the background of your minds, we probably need to think about replacing that thing.
Yeah.
It's getting that time,
Yeah, sure.
so. Enough on that. The generator finally got repaired. We got all the parts in for that. It took like 6 months to get the parts, and they finally got it all back up and running like it's supposed to be. The primary flocculator on number 1, the motor has been repaired and replaced. I had them go ahead and take the motor that was on there, take it back and rebuild it, and we're gonna put it on the shelf for a spare, so all we gotta do is swap out if something happens to that motor. So that's on that one today. I guess some of you know, I don't know, got the truck, the new water plant truck, got it all in service now, it's all decaled and everything ready to go. So it's in service. Also wanted to let you know that next month I will be attending the Missouri Rural Water Conference. It's a 3-day conference over by St. Louis. There's a lot of new regulations coming out, stuff like that, that I need to kind of set in on and see what's going on there. So I will be going over to that for 3 days. Other than that, are you ready for numbers? We produce 9,110,000 gallons, which is an average of 303,666 gallons a day. And we ran for, yeah, I know, I hated that too. I hated writing that down. But, an average of 14.8 hours a day, plant ran. Any other questions for me?
You just hand that to Yvonne, so she.
No.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks, Tom.
Keep up the good work, buddy.
Just gotta keep the hole plugged. Only so many fingers, guys, and I am not climbing that tower, I don't get it.
And you wouldn't suspect that a hole the size of your pinky could put out as much ice as you'd think that it eventually would seal up, but it did not. It actually made quite the ice skating rink.
He said one hole was bigger than the one that was really squirting out, but somehow something floated in there and plugged it up and kept it from leaking. So-
Yeah, that tower's been a source of great entertainment the
Oh,
last
yeah.
year.
Yeah, it has.
Take pictures.
Somebody
Yes,
did.
yes.
Somebody.
It was pretty,
Yeah.
it was pretty.
David?
March 2nd, next Parks Board meeting. It'll be here at City Hall at 6:30. I believe that, correct, 6:30,
Yes,
we said?
yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, that's about all I have for the park. The school will take over on the 1st of March, probably start playing games here about the second week of March.
Yeah.
So things are looking good. Just pray we don't have a gully washer and have to redo the whole all the fields, but other than that, we're all doing good.
Time to start flipping burgers and dogs again.
About that time.
You have anything from you tonight?
You know, I really wanted to talk about marijuana tonight again, but I'm sadly we're not. I'm so sorry. The only thing I do have is I'm gonna introduce a new associate in our office, and so she's shadowing me tonight. This is Madison Touchstone.
Hi everyone.
Um,
Nice to meet you. Sorry I was late. I was trying to find parking.
she,
Right?
right, I know. So
Okay.
yeah,
Making
Madison
sure I
lives in
wasn't
Remore,
driveway.
and so yeah. So she's
Nobody told her about the parking garage down the block?
What? I was parked outside. I was like,
There's a valet that's gonna meet you out front.
Forgot about
You
the
know,
valley.
I forgot to brief her on that. I'm so sorry.
What should we know about you?
Well, I was a public defender for 2.5 years, and then I was down in Nevada, Missouri. So I was down there at that office. I traveled to Stockton, Missouri a lot. So I was in Stockton and El Dorado for a lot of the time. Then I'm from Kansas City, born and raised Kansas City. So decided to take a job closer to home. So here we are.
You know one of my clients, Bacon Hollins.
Probably so. Yes. Yeah.
Wait,
No, I'm
maybe?
just, I can't confirm or
There
deny.
we go. Yeah.
All right,
She
moving
works
on.
there.
We don't have anything from you, do we?
Come out really bad.
No, we
What's gonna
have,
go
yeah,
on
we
this?
have some business
So-
later on,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I am happy to report the 2021 audit is complete.
Oh.
They are now putting it in the print format to send to us, and we should have it.
I almost forgot about the whole freaking thing.
So,
So now we're only 1 year behind.
well, actually, we're only a month behind.
Okay.
Because the 2022 audit should have been completed by December.
Right.
And so we're just now outside of that window, which he was in this last week to start gathering the information for the 22. And then we will put the 23 out for bid now that we are caught up.
Okay.
So,
So now that we have information to utilize, the committee will meet soon and mull
Actually
over
have
some
something
information.
Maybe.
yes.
All right.
nice.
Assuming you get the print version.
Item number 7,
I'm not placing any wagers.
consent agenda.
I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Now we'll talk about the unfinished business of the Finance Committee ordinance.
So, basically what we did is after having conversations with the Finance Committee, we're going to repeal the old one and replace it with the one that's suggested, which moves the Finance Committee into a more advisory, and resource type of a position, to where they're less actively involved, but they're more to provide oversight, recommendations, because there is a public component to it. 2 of the members are from the public. It's still an important component that we definitely don't want to eliminate altogether. But again, just moving them from the more hands-on role to the more oversight role.
And just for clarification there, so everybody knows, I think everybody at the table knows, but just, the way that the old ordinance, or the current ordinance is the finance committee kind of, it was established in the place of a city administrator, basically. Because there was a period there where we didn't have a city administrator, so that's the why of why we're looking to repeal and replace the ordinance.
Does that take an action of us tonight?
Yes, because this is a new resolution, you will need to approve this resolution, and it will replace the existing one, and again, move that body from more hands-on to advisory.
Okay.
Before we make any motions on the resolution, my only question, or at least right now, there may be more later, but the language in this resolution is the same as far as the terms. And I don't know that I'm necessarily interested in starting my 3-year term over at the beginning, since I've already completed almost 1 year of my term. So I don't know what we need to do about that, but
Talking about section 2 there?
yeah.
Well, this
You
would
wanna
be
grandfather
grandfather.
your first?
Are we gonna I guess that's what I'm asking, is are we gonna grandfather the
new
people
ordinance.
in that are
We're starting on your.
the aldermen that are already on the committee, are we gonna grandfather their time towards this?
I,
towards this ordinance,
I say yes.
instead of resetting it, that's all I'm saying.
I say yes.
And that's why I left
That's
the blanks in there. I wasn't sure how
Oh,
you guys
okay.
wanted to
Yeah.
proceed, and so.
Yeah, I just didn't know what the language, cause it still says
Yeah.
the finance committee will consist of 6 members, Alderman blank and Alderman blank are appointed to initial terms of 3 years.
All right. I
but-
need a motion of initial reading.
Well, hold on a second, sorry, I'm still trying to make sure we got the legalese right on
Oh,
this.
okay.
If,
Well,
if we're gonna make, I mean, if we can't just say we're gonna grandfather it, I mean, we gotta make an addendum or a caveat or something, right?
You're right. So what I would do, and you could even pencil this in and type it in afterwards before you guys actually sign it, but agree on what the language is gonna say. So you could say the initial terms, beginning on date. So this would then backdate the term to
Okay.
the date that you previously signed the other one. And so that way,
Sorry,
you
man,
still
Right.
have your staggered
Okay.
terms, and you won't have to start that over as of today. So really, that's the only piece that you would need to add in there, is that beginning on. So it wouldn't begin today.
An
Okay.
effective date.
Effective,
Exactly, yeah.
yeah, okay, so,
Right.
Because I believe the initial one was in April of 22.
I think you're right, yeah, it was my very first meeting. They were like, congratulations, you're the chairman of this committee.
so where would that be inserted at?
Section
Two.
2, yeah, the finance committee will consist of 6 members.
Page 44.
The initial term beginning on April 2022. Alderman
Okay.
blank and blank
All right,
are appointed to
Do
initial.
we need to mention that in calling out the bill?
Um,
With amendment?
I
We
would
have to
say,
call that out.
no, I would just say, not when you're reading just the title. You don't have to do that. Now, as long as you all agree to change the language of it before you sign, then you're good to go.
Well, let's
So-
have a motion to agree to sign it as amended, and that we
There you go.
talked about.
Yeah,
Okay, I make a motion that we sign resolution 2303, resolution 1153, bill number 2303, with an amended date of start. What was your?
Amended effective date.
Effective date.
second,
All in favor?
Aye.
aye,
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt bill number 2303, resolution 1153, by title only.
Actually, because it was a resolution, we only have to vote on it once.
Oh, that's it, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right, that's fine.
There you go.
Yes.
Not an
Even
ordinance.
better.
All right.
I always get confused about that.
Can I have a
Yeah.
second?
Just don't let it read.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have to roll call that one?
Nope, it's a
Okay.
resolution.
All right.
thank you.
Yep.
And I assume that blank is you and me, and you're the, continue to be the chair.
Right,
If
because
it's
we
not on there,
didn't agree to amend that, sorry.
no, that's okay.
All right, new business.
You got pushed into it, I'll go with it.
I appreciate it.
Mowing contract. Is this the only contract was submitted?
So we
For
had,
bid?
we had one bid, we had several inquire, but only one bid submitted. And so, my recommendation is that, we accept the bid from George Bruto for, mowing of Adrian Park.
Make a motion that we give the mowing bid to George Bruto for the Adrian City Park.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And that is the last that we have on our, public agenda.
Okay.
We do have a reason to go into closed session, briefly for legal.
Yeah, yeah, is there?
Well, yeah. Do we have any public comments? Anybody that'd like to address the board for any reason? Speak now, forever hold your peace.
Or at least until next month.
All right, you guys have anything that you need to discuss in the open forum as alderman? I don't either.
Make a motion, we adjourn into closed session, or make a
Yeah,
motion.
close.
We go into closed session.
Make a motion, we move into executive session, sorry.
And we'll make a motion to close general session, make a motion to open executive.
What he
session.
said. I second that.
I think you're right.
Okay.
Sorry.
All in favor?
Well, we have a roll
Aye.
call, please.
Roll call.
Vic,
Yes.
Hummel,
Yes.
Bridges?
Yep.
Sears?
Yes.
Thank you, fellas.
Thank you, thank you.